We are doing a head-to-head comparison, a deep dive, an intricate dive into the status of some of the prospects around the National Hockey League. But no, we are not going straight to the source, because the source is behind a paywall. If you don't have The Athletic, you cannot go out there and read what is the 20 drafted NHL goaltenders, the top 20, as posted by Scott Wheeler from a few days ago. Here's the thing. You can do your part and rank however many prospects are in the NHL, forwards and D-men, but when it comes to goalies, generally it's a lot more difficult. Normally, you have the top guys, you have the main guys, but then everybody else kind of funnels through and it's up to you to subjectively rank and place everybody else. But this is where we talk about the potential for things to go a little sideways. Let's talk today about one of the rankings, as posted on CanucksDaily.com by Edward Jackson about a week ago. This article will be linked in the description as well as the Athletics piece, because this Edward Jackson article goes over Vancouver and how Aleksei Medvedev was ranked as one of the top 20 NHL goalie prospects in the league. Now, this is where things get kinda nutty, because if you scroll down, you will read the context and the rankings as to where Medvedev was on the list. The Vancouver Canucks scouting staff did an excellent job throughout the last year finding and identifying players that the club could select at the 2025 draft. Okay, well, what's the assessment? What's the basis on that, Edward Jackson? Are you just saying that because the Canucks ended up getting guys that found themselves on lists? What do you know about the prospects drafted in 2025? Okay, I'm being mean. Sorry. I'm being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. During day 2 of the NHL Draft, the Canucks filled some holes in their prospect pool, ultimately selecting 5 players, including Memorial Cup winning netminder Aleksei Medvedev of the Ontario Hockey League's London Knights. Medvedev was a sneaky good pick by the Canucks, who was surprisingly still available in the middle of the second round, and as he heads back to London for his first season as their starting netminder. He's recently been recognized as one of the best goaltending prospects in all of hockey. Last week, Scott Wheeler of The Athletic released an updated version of his prospect rankings, one for skaters, which featured 3 Canucks, as well as the top 20 drafted goalies. Aleksei Medvedev made his debut on Wheeler's list last week, coming at 15th, ahead of prospects such as Igor Zavragin, Philadelphia, Carl Lindbaum in Vegas, and Jakub Dobes, who made 16 appearances in the regular season and 3 in the Stanley Cup Playoffs for the Habs. What? Are you kidding me? You are saying that Aleksei Medvedev is already being ranked ahead of a goalie who has Stanley Cup playoff experience in Jakub Dobes? Bruh. I'm all for rankings. I'm all for going out there and putting in some hot takes. I'm all for recognizing some good goalie prospects, but are you serious? Jakub Dobes is ranked lesser than Medvedev? Now, here's the thing. If you wanted to talk about Montreal Canadiens representation, Jacob Fowler is on the same list, and I know that because I was able to read the list, but Jacob Fowler is also listed on the Athletics piece of top goalie prospects, and he is one of the first ones named. It's just, I'm so interested as to how Jakub Dobes was ranked so much lower than Medvedev. Now, for what it's worth, let's go out there and read the assessment made by Scott Wheeler on Medvedev. That's also put here in the article as well. Wheeler highlighted that Medvedev is competitive on rebounds, and his quickness and hands are 2 of his biggest attributes in his game, which bodes well for the London Knights next season as he's set to take on an even bigger role. He moves well, is competitive on second and third chances and scrambles, and while he plays behind a top team, he has been consistently good for them. I have found that he can play a little deep in his net and look small with the bit of a hunch that he has, a hench over his toes that a lot of Russian goalies have in their stance, but he makes up for it with his quickness, talent, and good hands. He's also, by all accounts, a really hard worker. There were some who believed he was the second or third best goalie prospect in the 2025 draft. And he looks like a legit prospect and has all the tools you look for in a goalie. He's also very young, just days away from being eligible for 2026, which has some excited about his continued development, Wheeler said. This article goes out there and then talks about just some of the numbers. We can dive into this too. But Aleksei Medvedev, in the most recent season at 17 years old, had himself a .912 save percentage in 34 games played in the OHL. That's pretty good. And if you head over to the NHL Central Scouting Rankings, oh, it doesn't say here. Okay, that's fine. But he was ranked pretty reasonably across the board as a late second-ish round pick. The Canucks ended up taking him a little bit earlier, but still, this is where you start to talk about, what goaltending evaluation lands you in NHL projections for the draft. Sometimes you'd think that the goalies go a little bit later than they really do. That's about it. But for as good as Aleksei Medvedev is, I have a very difficult time believing that he is so much further ahead than Jakub Dobes, who's ranked towards the end of that same prospects list. Now, I get it, Dobes is 24 years old, so it's not like this guy is on the same timeline as Medvedev. But Dobes, .910 save percentage with Laval this previous year, .909 with Montreal as well, .881 save percentage in the playoffs for the Habs. I mean, it's hard to go out there and totally dismiss what Dobes was capable of doing. You're going to look at me in the eye and say that this guy is so much worse than all the other goaltending prospects in the league? I get that he's 24, and I get that he has had an extended amount of time to develop in the NCAA and inevitably the AHL, but I think you gotta give this guy some credit, man. I get upward ceiling too. Scott Wheeler is ranking these goaltenders in terms of where he can see them maxing out. Dobes is ranked as a tier 3 goalie, I think that's what it says in the article. But is he really that bad? I don't know, man. I have a very difficult time believing that there are, 15, 16, 17, however many goaltending prospects in the NHL that are quote-unquote better than Jakub Dobes? I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of psyching myself out over the thought that the Vancouver Canucks drafted a goalie that should be better than Dobes in the second round in the most recent NHL Entry Draft in Aleksei Medvedev. Maybe I'm psyching myself out on that. But if you are a Canucks fan, if you are a Montreal Canadiens fan, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this assessment here? That Medvedev is a better goaltending prospect than some of these guys. In particular, Jakub Dobes. How does that make you feel? Do you agree with the assessment? Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.